We live in an era when the spiritual state of the nation is at a low ebb, but it's not anything that we haven't faced before. The reality is, as the church goes, so goes the nation. But the truth is, as the pastor goes, so goes the church. Far too many churches are pastored by men who have lost their way. They no longer are standing on biblical issues. And consequently, the morality of our country has been lowered to a standard unlike anything in my lifetime, and that's engendering hate and potential violence.
We need to recognize that future generations are going to look at us and say, "What did you do?" And you know what? I want to be able to tell my kids, grandkids, future generations that I stood for what I knew was right. I want to walk around heaven and have people walk up to me and say, "Thank you for telling me about Jesus. Thank you for making it possible for me to have a Christian life." There's a lot to be excited and hopeful about, but make sure you got your priorities where they need to be. You know, you can say, well, am I famous or rich? And you know, the world worries about that. Ask yourself, am I walking in my faith? Am I being the man of God, the woman of God that I'm called to be according to the Word of God?
As we consider the spiritual state of the nation, we see there are many challenges facing the church today. But challenges could also be viewed as opportunities for greater service for Christ.
So many groups declare loudly they're out of the closet. Most Christians I know live in the closet. And an in the closet Christian is somebody who's like, well, faith, can't talk about it at work, can't talk about it in the community, can't talk about it at school. I think I'm going to just die and go to heaven, but keep it to myself, and we live in the closet. It's time for Christians to come out of the closet, lovingly, graciously, with a good spirit, but let folks know where you stand.
Consider some of the issues we face today, beginning with the issue of life. Recently, the Supreme Court heard the most serious challenge against Roe v. Wade in decades. This is a case out of Mississippi that would essentially ban abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy.
Killing a child at any age is wrong, but to empower the state to protect at least more babies is a step in the right direction. I'm hopeful that the court will be intellectually honest and courageous and do the right thing, which is to undo the disaster that is Roe v. Wade and all of its subsequent precedent. I think we're going to see hysteria from the radical pro-abortion fringe. Abortion has become a kind of religion to some in this country, where it is sort of the mark of whether or not women are free and whether or not we can prosper, which is such a tragedy and injustice to see our empowerment and advancement through the lens of killing the necessary, somehow we have to kill a child to succeed, to achieve our dreams.
It's encouraging that the court would even take this case in light of the many challenges against life from the current administration.
I think from a pro-life perspective, the Biden administration is making the most extreme advancements for abortion that we've ever seen in history. And we knew they were going to do that. We had the blueprint from them that they wanted government-funded, insurance-funded abortion with zero restrictions. And within the first 6 months, they're already moving on all those issues.
The life issue is winning in America. And despite opposition by the Biden administration and those in Washington, in the Senate and the Congress, we're seeing wins all over the states on the life issue. And that is great cause for encouragement.
An area of concern for the spiritual state of the nation is the infiltration of the Marxist view of critical race theory. If you're white, by definition, you're automatically racist, according to that theory.
The old definition of racist had to do with one individual's racism toward another. What these individuals are arguing and what CRT is arguing is that racism is ingrained in and embedded in the systems and structures of our culture. Therefore, for you to personally strive not to be racist is for you to ignore these systems and structures and to allow them to persist. What we have to do is we have to tear down the racist systems and structures. This is what critical theory is all about. It is revolutionary overthrow. That's why you don't reform the police, you defund the police.
That is why we are witnessing the targeting of the American past and various structures of American society today. The riots in the summer of 2020, that wasn't just pent-up rage exploding and breaking out. It was from lockdowns and various people in evil ways, in many cases, responding to different events, shootings and so on. That was also, in terms of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, a cold-blooded targeting of the American public order with the goal of creating destabilization and ultimately dismantling of these systemic bodies, these systemic structures that bear within them racism. And so, yeah, that was chaotic and wild, but it was also planned out and forethought. And we've got to recognize just what is headed our way today.
A major challenge hampering the church's influence is the lack of a clear Christian world and life view on the part of so many professing Christians.
As Christians, we all know that Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me." And that's obvious and clear, because otherwise, why would God have bothered to die, to sacrifice himself, if there were many other ways to God? And yet, our survey found that about 2/3 of born-again Protestants under the age of 40, they believe this question: are Muhammad, Buddha, and Jesus equally valid ways to heaven? 2/3 of born-again Protestants said yes. That statement is true. And it makes you wonder, well, why did you choose Jesus then?
Millennial evangelicals, half of them will say that evangelism is the imposition of my opinions on others. Well, first, that evangelical millennial has grown up in a culture that says all truth is opinion. Even biblical truth is opinion. The Bible's a diary of religious experience. It's my truth, but I have no right to force it on you. And at the end of the day, Jesus didn't say, "I'm the way, the opinion, and the life." He said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life." He is the only way. His key opens every door, but it's the only key that does.
There's no question, however, that taking a stand for Christ in today's culture will require fortitude.
The opponents in the culture war are saying, we're going to call you names. We're going to shout you, we're going to dox you, we're going to call you a bigot. And because people don't have the courage, because institutions don't have the courage, they're literally caving on what it means to be a human being. And so they're moving at light speed away from nature, biology, common sense, and the collective wisdom of human history. Not to mention God's design, which is evident in nature. I disagree. I'm not going to bend my knee to this fiction that you're promoting.
That's kind of open season right now in terms of wolves testing the fences of the city of God and entering it, frankly. And there just are not that many watchmen on the wall who are even attempting to spot those wolves and spot those problematic ideologies that try to take us captive. So I'm no self-appointed prophet, at least I shouldn't be, but in the last several years, I've seen a lack of clarity and a lack of conviction, and frankly, a lack of courage on moral and theological matters that are facing the church, and not just facing it, trying to enter it, and I believe, in a satanic sense, derail the church, take the church captive, at least anyone Satan can take captive, he wants to, Colossians 2:8.
There's an undercurrent of division that, apart from true revival, cannot be bridged. That's why believers need to be praying diligently for that kind of revival to come. But often revival comes with pain, and there may be some true pain that has to be endured to get to the other side for the healing of the nation.